said that to me on the field, but it doesn't appear to be one of those 4 to 5 week true high ankle. It doesn't appear to be that. So he moved around last night. He was kind of we have the training area for the guys that aren't practicing, and he was moving around in there. So with quarterbacks, I never know with the ankle what that's going to mean. So I'd have to see him before I know much more about that.
Coach, with Jeff kind of up in the air, I mean, how much of a gap or lack thereof a gap is there between where Jeff might be at and where Heinrich or maybe Chubb are at?
I just leaned back on kind of what I said at the end of training camp, that I felt like we could win with Chuba, and I felt like we could win with Heinrich. They both can run, so we can maintain some of the things that we're doing quarterback run-wise. I think some of the plays we've called have been quarterback draws, and maybe they've been seen as like a scramble, but we've called some quarterback draws that those guys can execute at a high level. So I think both those guys can run the offense. Obviously, right now, with where we're at right now, the offense isn't doing what we want it to do in general. So, I think all of us, as a team, have to be better on offense to have a chance to win games. But I have a lot of confidence in both those guys, and I think they both bring unique skill sets to the table.
Just to be clear, though, if Jeff is able to go physically, will he be the starter?
I'm going to see him practice first. You know what I'm saying? Jeff's our starting quarterback. So if this hadn't happened, he'd still be out there. That being said, we can't keep turning the ball over. Okay, so there's that fine line of, and not every, when you're the quarterback, not everything's your fault. They snap the ball and it hits a guy in motion. Sometimes that's the quarterback's fault. Sometimes it's someone else's fault. So this is a top down, starting with me. Hey, we have to be better. We can't be -8. And that goes without saying, right? It's just that can't be in our building, not out there in the world. That can't be the only narrative, in our building. In our building, it can't be, we'll just turn the ball over. It's 13-7 with 6 minutes left to go in the third quarter, and we lose 36-14. That's not acceptable either. So we're asking everyone just to get a little bit better, But all that being said, Jeff's our quarterback, but Jeff also has to protect the football. When the ball's in the ground, things are going to happen, especially on the road. We have to dive on the ball and just hold the ball there. So I'm obviously not getting that point across. I'm going to get it across to everybody. As we move forward. But I don't know what he looks like, so I just don't want to comment too much. If he was 100% healthy, I'd have him out there with the ones.
How do you practice that, though, diving on the ground? Is it this effort? How do you work on something like that?
Yeah, so I look at it, and I get upset about it, right? Why do we not jumping on the ball? And Ron Brown has been a tremendous kind of, mentor to me here. And, I go out to practice every night. Coach Darlington's out there, watches practice. And Coach Darlington will talk about, hey, we had the punters and kickers tackle. Coach Osborne came to practice last week. And so I listened to my mentors and my elders, and Ron's one of those. And Ron said, Matt, we're all sitting here saying that why didn't Jeff jump on the ball? But every day in practice, if the ball's on the ground, what do we tell Jeff to do? We tell him to get out of the way. And, he talked about a play in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. And Cam Newton's the most amazing competitor I've ever been around in my life. My life was changed by being around Cam Newton. Okay, so Jeff's a competitor. So Ron's point was why don't we practice that? Why don't we practice having the quarterback dive on ball? Obviously, we can't do it in the flow of a team period. Or, I was at Penn State when Kerry Collins, as a sophomore quarterback, dropped the snap and went down to pick it up, and a defensive lineman broke his hand, and all of a sudden, he was out for the year. So Ron's point was we should be training that. And I've never thought about that. I haven't had that problem before, but my job is to fix the things that are happening. So I know Jeff would never not go get the ball. I just think Jeff tried to reach down because he wanted to make a play. The kids want to win so badly, but it's hey guys, it's the ball's on the 32-yard line. You know what I'm saying? Let's just dive on the ball. Let's kick the field goal and let's go up 3-0. So we're learning how to win. It's painful right now. It's painful. I get it. Everyone's painful. But we're never going to waste a crisis. You know what I mean? We're not going to waste these losses. We're going to learn from it.
Just to clarify, after the game, you said that Chuba hadn't been feeling like himself because of a tweak. How is he?
Yeah, I just saw him this morning at breakfast. I sat down, talked to him. I said, "Are you ready? You ready to go? Ready to go?" He said, "Yeah." And so he had kind of a little tweak of his groin about a week and a half ago. Good enough that he could play, but he hasn't been full speed, if that makes sense. So it could be the emergency third. And I think that was in reference to the question of who would be the two. Chuba's been doing this to me, so I think he can bring a lot to the game. But that's why he would have been the third guy going in. He went in just because Heinrich lost his helmet. Heinrich's been taking all the 2 reps with Chuba kind of being a little bit limited. He told me today he feels good, so, we'll see how the week goes.
Obviously, the situation when Heinrich came in the game was different, but how do you evaluate the way he played on Saturday?
I thought the moment wasn't too big for him. What I loved about what Heinrich did was 3 times he had a guy blitzing and hitting him in the face, and he stood in there and threw it. And that's the courage that we need. I thought he looked excellent running the football, which we knew, but I was happy to see him, even he threw the post to Marcus, which was incomplete, but, he knew where to go with the ball. So I have a lot of confidence in Heinrich.